This is section 1.6, other types of equations. We are going to be talking about several different types of equations, stuff you've probably seen before, stuff you probably need review on. Okay, the first problem we have is 5x to the fourth minus 20x squared is equal to 0. First of all, when we have what we call a polynomial equation, meaning that we don't have fractional exponents, we don't have negative exponents, we don't have variables under radicals or in denominators. In general, whatever your largest exponent is, that's how many answers you should expect. Now, you may get the same answer more than once, and we count it more than once when it comes to that. But in general, we should expect, in this case, 4 solutions. If I look at this, I can see that I have a greatest common factor. I can factor out a 5x squared, and that will leave me with x squared minus 4, and that equals 0. Okay, now I can factor this further because it is a difference of squares. So I factor again, 5x squared times x plus 2 times x minus 2 is equal to 0. All right, so now this is as factored as possible, so I'm going to take each of these and set it equal to 0. 5x squared equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0. Here, technically, you divide both sides by 5, you get x squared equals 0, and then you use the square root property on it, and you have to use the plus or minus there. So technically, I get 2 answers here. I get plus 0 and minus 0. Now, normally we just write it down once, but it is counting twice when it counts towards this 4 answers that we should expect. Okay, now here, subtract 2 from each side, you get x equals negative 2. Add 2 to each side, x equals positive 2. So your 3 answers, technically 4, are negative 2, 0, and 2. Again, I expect 4 answers. I got this one twice, so it does count up, does add up to the 4 I should expect. Okay, so let's try 9y cubed plus 8 is equal to 4y plus 18y squared. Okay, my largest exponent is a 3, so I expect 3 answers. I want to try to factor this to see if I can solve it that way. So I want a 0, and it's always easier if if the coefficient for your largest exponent is a positive. So I want to keep that a positive 9. So I'm going to move each of these over to this side, and that will give me 9y cubed minus 18y squared minus 4y plus 8 is equal to 0. And now we can factor by grouping. From this first 2, I can factor out a 9 and a y squared. And that will give me a y minus 2. And then from here, I want to try to get a y minus 2 again. So I'm going to factor out a negative 4. So I get y minus 2 is equal to 0. So I have y minus 2 times 9y squared minus 4 equals 0. Now this is a difference of squares again. So this is y minus 2 times 3y plus 2 times 3y minus 2, and that's equal to 0. Now I need to set all 3 of these equal to 0 and solve. So I have y minus 2 equals 0, 3y plus 2 equals 0, and 3y minus 2 equals 0. Okay, from this one I get y equals 2. Here I get 3y equals negative 2, so y is negative 2/3. I have 3y equals positive 2, so I get y equals positive 2/3. I got 3 solutions, which is what I expected. Write them in set notation. And you have your solution. Okay, so our next type of equation, these are called radical equations. The radical is that square root sign. Okay, if we have a square root, we're going to square both sides. We're going to get the radical alone on one side. We might have more than one radical, so we get at least one of them alone on a side. Then we're going to square both sides if we have a square root. We would cube both sides if we had a cube root. Raise both sides to the fourth power if we had a fourth root, and so on. We may have to go through this more than once. Now, this process often produces false answers. So we have to completely, fully check every single answer to make sure it didn't give us something that's wrong. Okay? So let's look at this first problem. The square root of 20 minus 8x is equal to x. The square root is by itself, so I'm going to square both sides. Now, when you square a square root, you get what's underneath. So I have 20 minus 8x is equal to x squared. Now, I need to solve this, which means I need to try to factor this. I need a 0. So I'm going to move, I want this first number to be positive, so I'm going to move both of these over to this side. So that I have 0 is equal to x squared plus 8x minus 20. Okay, now to factor this, I need two numbers that multiply to a negative 20 and that add to a positive 8. And positive 10 and negative 2 will do that. So this factors as x plus 10, x minus 2 is equal to 0. Set each of these equal to 0. X plus 10 equals 0, which would give me a negative 10. And this is x minus 2 equals 0, which will give me a positive 2. Now I have two potential answers here. They might both be good, they might both be bad, or I may have one of each. There is no shortcut here. We have to plug it in to our original and see if it works or not. So I'm going to check this negative 10. This would be the square root of 20 minus 8 times negative 10. And this should equal negative 10. Well, this is the square root of 20 plus 80, which would be the square root of 100, which is not equal to negative 10. So negative 10 is a false solution. It has to be thrown away. Now I have to check 2. So I'd have the square root of 20 minus 8 times 2. And this equals 2. Square root of 20 minus 16 equals 2. This is the square root of 4 equals 2, and that is correct. So this has one solution, and its answer is 2. Okay, so let's work. The square root of x plus 10 is equal to x minus 2. Our first step is to get the square root by itself, and it's already there. Now let's square both sides. Now on the left, I end up with x plus 10. Now right here, this is a binomial squared. So I either need to rewrite this as x minus 2 times x minus 2 and multiply it all out, or you can use your binomial squared rule that says you square your first term, you write down the sign from the middle, you multiply these two together, and then you double it. Multiplying them together would give me 2x. If you double that, you get 4x. Okay. And then it's plus, you square your last term, 2 squared is 4. So now this is what I need to solve. I need a 0, so I'm going to move these two over to here. And that gives me 0 is equal to x squared. It's going to be minus 5x. And if I subtract 10, that's going to be minus 6. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to a -6 and that add to a -5. So that's going to be -6 and +1. So I have 0 equals x minus 6, x plus 1. Set each of these equal to 0. From this one you get 6, here you get -1, and now we have to check them both. So let's try 6 first. This would be the square root of 6 plus 10 equal to 6 minus 2. So this is the square root of 16 equal to 4, and that one works. So 6 is at least one of our solutions. Now let's check -1. Have the square root of -1 plus 10 is equal to -1 minus 2. This will be the square root of 9 is equal to -3, which is not true. So -1 was not a good solution. Our only solution here is 6.